Wow. For me, apart from being lost in my wife's endless love and beauty, I've been lost before. I went to school out of Nairobi. It was far. Actually, I'd never been to Nairobi up to that point alone. So we come from school in Western Kenya, and then when we arrived to Nairobi, I thought I knew where I was alighting at. So, because many people alighted there. To this day, I don't know where it was. But I remember following people because like see what to Nairobi. All of us are going this direction. So I followed guys. I was in Form 1. Followed guys, I guess that's why I was lost. Anyway, so I followed guys. At some point, I take turn. I can't remember where I was, but I do remember being behind Parliament and then being at seeing the museum. Meanwhile, I'm going to Machakos bus stage to go to Kitui. And so my dad had told us that, I told at least me, that when you ever get lost, ask a cop for directions. So look at any cop, ask for directions. So I asked one cop, I went, I got lost again. That's how bad I was. And then I got another cop, asked for direction, and I'm alive today, thank God. But I'm super glad to be here today. Happy Mashujaa Day. Yeah, it's Mashujaa Day, guys. This is super good. If you have, your grandfather or, great-grandfather fought for our independence, power to the people. God bless you. Yes, I really want to celebrate God for this community. Thank you, guys, for your generosity in the manner of giving. Yeah, this has been one of the most generous churches around. I really want to appreciate you. Earlier in the year, I invited, 2 months ago, yes, you can celebrate that. About 2 months ago, I invited us to give towards the Mavuno Young and Fearless tent. Guess what, guys? That we are 826,000 something in. And so we are 80% plus into the project. And so if you want to give towards the tent, kindly go ahead and do that. Let's be generous as we can. If the money is more, we'll buy something else for the kids or the teens. But I really want to appreciate all of you for being generous and for not just pledging, but actually going ahead to give. You want to give to that? The same M-Pesa number, but indicate tent. Should you sense, peradventure, that you have not counted your money just because maybe you used the account, or you didn't indicate tent, or it's one of those things that doesn't indicate the description, kindly let me know personally on this one so that I can be able to advise our finance team, and all the resources can be directed towards the Mavuno Young and Fearless tent. Amen? Now, a couple of weeks ago, we were doing evangelism at the University of Nairobi as we welcomed the freshmen. Now, anyone from JKUAT, freshmen are first years, all right? So we were welcoming freshmen, and, went around the University of Nairobi, went and did evangelism, talked to many students, then came to the grounds here, and we were doing like a post-outreach, evaluation and figuring out how do we convert the students. And so we're thinking of sending a text message to the students to welcome them to the church service, because it was actually on Saturday evening. And so while seated there, we invited one of our pastoral interns in the Discovery program. Her name is Cookie. Those who know Cookie, she's amazing. She's she's just the best person to write that text for us to be able to send out. Because first of all, she's Ugandan, and then she went to the United States International University, USIU. So she's got it. This is English, not math. Good. Write the text. There are no equations. So she's there, she's writing, she's canceling, she's editing, she's showing us, and you're like, that's too long. That shows that you're too needy. That one makes us feel like a cult. Just edit and all that. Meanwhile, there was a student seated next to me. He's a sophomore in the university. JKUAT University students. Sophomore is second year student. Anyway, so we're over there. And this student taps me and said, how about this one? We read the text, and it's perfect for sending out to our students as a conversion text. So I asked him, how did you write it? He says, I asked ChatGPT, but I guess because you were in church, it was ChatGPT. Anyway, he had done with the ChatGPT thing and given us the perfect text. All of a sudden, you're like, USIU, hold on, your end got this. We leave. USIU guys are walking now. Don't go. You've never even striked in your life. Come back. Anyway, we live in an amazing world of technology. that is helping us accomplish tasks that looks like, if some of those guys that you are celebrating for Mashujaje, if they woke up today, it would seem like witchcraft. Like, honestly, like, it would seem like witchcraft, just the kind of precision technology that we have today. One of the newer entrants is, ChatGPT, but there are some OGs that you don't even count. Google Maps, it's like Tuesday. Like, who thinks that it's new technology? Yet it's really recent technology, just to be able to even tell you the load on the road. Wow. Like, tell you, it's red or blue or green. Like, it's able to tell you the load. That's new technology in a sense. Zoom. About 6 years ago, you had to explain people how to use Zoom and what to do, and then the bundles would not be enough. It was crazy. We don't even count things like WhatsApp, M-Pesa, Netflix, smartphones and earbuds. Then Canva. Many people have become designers. How many have used Canva? I know, I see all of you. Actually, so I mentioned Canva, and Chege White, the one who comes for first service, he said, you need to know that it's free as long as you have a registered non-profit. It's actually free for you. I know you have a non-profit. Oh, okay. All right. So I thought you were like, I don't make profit, but it's like a registered non-profit. Register and they'll give it for free. My wife the other day was designing her book cover on Canva alone, and it was good. Like, I looked at it, it was amazing. First, I also like the title of our book. It's called Submission is Not a Curse Word. I love it. Our marriage has been sorted, let me tell you guys. She was designing the book cover, so she can, this is how I want it to look like. My son, when you enter the car, he says, can I be the DJ? He takes my phone and goes to Spotify, plays the songs, and then actually checks out the lyrics of the song and sings along. I was like, son, do you know, in our days, to know the lyrics, you had to wait every 7 days for Sunday Nation. Like, I didn't want the newspaper for anything else apart from Sunday Nation. That is, if my brother didn't get it. And then you go to Young Nation. And then at Young Nation, you cut the lyrics over there. That's how I knew the lyrics to Most by Issa and Brenda. My son asked, who is Issa? I'm like, you are growing up in a world without Issa. Anyway. So all that technology, we as a people, as a generation, we have more knowledge and information than any other generation that ever existed. And you'd think that with all this knowledge, with all this access to the same, because it can be available, but you don't have access. Yet for us, we have access to the knowledge, you have access to the information. You'd think that we'd be the happiest generation that ever lived. What a shocking shock. Despite all these tools that are designed to make our life easier, we work for more hours, we rest for less hours, we are squeezed for time, we are squeezed for relaxation, and we don't have time to experience, the things that are there for us to experience in that sense. We live with a sense of dissatisfaction and anxiety in our life. Here's a question. Is there a way to navigate life so that we end up with less stress, less anxiety, and more joy? That's what we want to talk about today. For our visitors, or if you're joining us today for the first time, we began our new sermon series in the month of October called Roadmaps, and in it we are talking about how do we get to where we want to be. And we started on week 1, we were basing it from the book of Proverbs. We started on week 1 by talking about the principle of the path. And we say that it's not your intentions, but the path you take that determines your destination. Then last week we talked about the principle of danger signs, and we talked and said that the prudent see danger and take cover or take refuge, but the simple keep going and they pay a penalty. If you've missed these sermons, I truly believe they're foundational in this series. And so kindly go online, watch, on our YouTube page, go watch, comment, recommend to other people so that as many people can be able to catch us online. Now, today we want to build up from there. And I want to ask, in light of so many options out there, how do we avoid becoming overwhelmed and still make the best decisions that will give us the best results in life? I've titled the sermon, The Principle of Divine Navigation. Come on, Shambare. Principle of Divine Navigation. Or for your end students, navigation. Now, imagine with me if someone came up with a database of all possible decisions that you could make. A database of, decisions on dating decisions, financial decisions, decision on parenting decisions, professional decision, your career, all that. Came up with a database, and then they made it available to you. That, they're able to help you map out, any difficult decision you make in life, and they can be able to tell you any possible outcomes that is out there. Must be nice, right? Like they come and tell you, Victor, let me tell you decisions on anything. Finances, school, dating, everything. And then they tell you, any decision you make, this is how it will end up. And they tell you, if you choose this person as a spouse, this is how it will end up. If you enter into this financial instrument or whatever, this is how it will end up. Many of us would take the opportunity to jump into that opportunity. And because we feel, I'm going to make decisions, my decision is going to be good. But here's the deal. On paper, it will sound awesome. On paper, it sounds awesome if someone shows up and they tell you, I'm going to tell you how every decision you make, how it ends up, at least with a high degree of certainty. Somehow, as a people, we think that the bad decisions we've made are because we lacked the right information at the time. Many times we think that the bad decisions we made is because we needed more information. That life's big decisions would be easier to make if we had just a little bit more information. Now, that's not always true. Because when it comes to money, for example, I don't think there's any other generation that has as much information as we do have as a people. We have sermons, we have seminars, we have, series, we have, there are courses, there are classes, there are programs that you can be able to enter into just to talk about money. Yet today, people have less mastery over their money, and many people are dying broke or retiring broke. When it comes to family and raising kids, the data is all around us. You have your own data, how you are brought up or raised up or grew up. Some of us, you grew up. You found yourself there. But you have some form of data of what to do or what not to do. Whether you've watched your family, whether you've watched your uncles and aunties, your neighbors, you've been able to tell some things that need to be done. Yet, even with all that data surrounding you, many of us are raising up our kids, and there's no certainty of how they're going to end up, at least based on how we are raising them. We are still making poor parenting decisions, so to speak. The same for addictions, whether it's alcohol, drugs, media, sex, all those addictions. We know how, the people who engage in them and where they end up at. Yet, it doesn't deter us from engaging in them. We have all this information, but we are still making poor decisions. And so I put it out to you this way, that even if there was a supercomputer somewhere that could spit out, periodical or predictable factors of major decisions, that would not guarantee any of us or many of us that the path we choose would lead to the outcome we desire. Why is that? Because our problem is not necessarily lack of information. Elbow your neighbor and tell them, your problem is not necessarily lack of information. We want to read a passage that sort of allows us to wrestle with that conversation today from 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 7 to 9. And so Solomon becomes king at a young age, and God comes to him and gives him a blank check and says, ask whatever you want. Anything you want, I'm going to give it to you. And Solomon, in his wisdom, asks for wisdom. He's amazing. He doesn't ask for wealth, doesn't ask for prosperity. He just asks for wisdom. He wanted to know how to make decisions. This is what the Bible says in 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 7 to 9. It says, now, Lord my God, this is Solomon speaking, you have made your servant king in place of my father David, but I am only a little child and do not know how to carry out my duties. Verse 8, your servant is here among the people you have chosen, a great people, too numerous to count or number. So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern this great people of yours? So Solomon, he comes over, and his greatest desire, his greatest prayer was the ability to make good decisions in every situation. And God was pleased with that request, and he makes Solomon the wisest man that ever lived. 1 Kings chapter 4, verse 29 to 31, we now get to see Solomon's biography. This is how it reads. It's amazing. Like, it's going to shock you. God gave Solomon wisdom and very great insight, and a breadth of understanding as measureless as the sand on the seashore. Like, someone who studies cells, a scholar, like cellular someone. Okay, that guy. So they study. They know depth in cell stuff. Making sense? Yeah. Okay, if I've lost you, like, yeah, they know stuff like in depth on cells, but they don't know like engines or something. I mean, makes sense. But somehow Solomon is able to go deep with anyone, but is also able to go wide with as many people as possible. That's what I'm seeing here. Verse 30. Solomon's wisdom was greater than the wisdom of all the people of the East, and greater than all the wisdom of Egypt. Now, the wise men were from the East, but Solomon is wiser than all the people of the East. He was wiser than anyone else, including Ethan. Mavuno kids have Ethan the puppet, but he was wiser than Ethan the Israelite. Wiser than Heman the Kalkol and Dada, the sons of Mahol, and his fame spread to all surrounding nations. He spoke 3,000 proverbs, so he was a spoken word artist. And his songs numbered 3,005. So singer, songwriter, producer. That's a guy. He spoke about plant life. That's what? Botanist, yeah? From the cedar of Lebanon to the hyssop that grows on the wall. He also spoke about animals, zoologists, and birds, birdie, and reptiles, and fish. From all nations, people came to listen to Solomon's wisdom, sent by all the kings of the world who had heard of his wisdom. Wow. You can say wow. Wow. Solomon was so wise and knowledgeable that people came from all over the world not to see his building projects, which he did, because the temple was built in his time. He had built, magnificent palaces. He basically made Jerusalem amazing. People didn't just come to see the stuff that he had done. People came to listen. Like, you show up to just say, speak. Your servants are listening. Like, literally, like, people came to listen to him speak. And he was there. He could be able to sing songs. He could be able to write songs. He's producing songs. He's a botanist. He's a zoologist. All these things rolled into one. Then he has the looks, and then he has the money. Come on, ladies. Like, this guy is a real deal. First of all, he's able to understand when you speak. And then you feel nice because you're able to look at him. This guy was amazing. But here he is. And if there was anyone in the world who could be able to say, God, I thank you for information. Thank you for common sense. Thank you for wisdom because I know what to do, it would have been Solomon. If there was ever anyone in the world who had the license to make decisions based on their own intuition, based on their own wisdom, based on their own judgment, based on their own discernment, it would be Solomon. Yet here, Solomon says something. I want us to jump back to the book of Proverbs where we are basing our conversation from. He says something in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5. And he says something very interesting. Read it with me. He says, and what a shocking shock. A man who was wise, a man who could be able to discern different options. He comes over in the book of Proverbs and he says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. The wisest and most knowledgeable man who ever lived. This man who had insight, who had understanding on how to make good decisions. This man who could not, who could afford literally to lean on his own understanding. He comes to us and says, hey, people. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. That's quite profound if you ask me. Because we all have a natural tendency to make decisions based on our experiences and how we are seeing things. We all have the tendency to make decisions based on, that's how I see this thing. Or based on, that's how so-and-so did the thing. Or this is how I've always done it. Or the trends show this, therefore we should X, Y, Z. We are people who are, you have a natural tendency to make decisions based on our own way of seeing the world. Every single day in our lives, we are tempted to trust in our own understanding. We say to ourselves, hey, I've studied finance, therefore I know how to make this financial decision. And we say, in our culture, people say, "Si mimi ndio nakusho." I am the one telling you. When someone really wants you to believe them, they come to you and they tell you something and say, "Don't, I'm the one telling you. Mimi ndio nakusho." And we have that in our culture today. Someone is able to say, "I've been at this job for so long, I know how we must do X, Y, Z. I started many businesses before, I know how to run a business. I brought myself up to this point in life, I know how I got this. Don't disturb me, I got this." And Solomon is saying this to you and I. I know you are smarty pants. I know you've read your books. I know you've done your course. I know you've done the experience. I know you have access to tools out there. But when it comes to making decisions, don't trust yourself. Never think that you are old enough or wise enough or smart enough or experienced enough to do something just by yourself. Be it in your relationship, your career, your health, your education, your finances. In all this, don't make the decision. Don't make the decision to tune into God's wisdom. What Solomon is saying is this: the answer is not more information necessarily. The answer is not more experience necessarily. The answer is not more exposure or more apps, better, faster gadgets, iPhone 16. The answer is not that. The answer, Solomon is saying, is found in surrendering your opinion and tapping into God's infinite wisdom. The answer is found in tapping into God's infinite wisdom. It's about getting up in the morning and committing your day before the Lord. I know you know the meetings you are to get into. I know you know exactly, how your day is arranged. But it's waking up in the morning and say, "Lord, here is my day. Order my steps." It's about telling him about the meetings that are lined up before you. And though you are going to meet your juniors, you still say, "Lord, give me wisdom on how to deal." It's about you going before the Lord and recalling the conversations that you're going to enter into and say, "Lord, give me the words even in these conversations." The people you are going to meet and relying on him for directions and understanding. It's about you looking at your job or your business and acknowledging, "Lord, I know I have a game plan, I have a strategic plan, I have, come out with a growth plan, I have measured the trends, I have the education, but Lord, show me the person to enter into this deal with. Show me if I should enter into this deal. It looks right in my own eyes, but I don't got it." And God is able to lead you in that. It's about in your marriage. You come in and saying, "Lord, I've facilitated Ndoa twice. I even did it twice myself. I've been married for many years." But you're still waiting on God and saying, "God, show me how to love my wife. Show me how to honor my husband. Show me how to respond. There is a certain issue before us. Show me how I should enter into it." I'm not entering into it with experience only. I'm coming to God and saying, "Lord, leverage my education, leverage my experience, or discard it, but show me what to do." That's relying on God. As a single person, you know the kind of person you are looking for and the game plan you have. You know exactly where they hang out and you plan to hang out there as well. You've got game and you know it and people have told you about it, but it's you surrendering to God and saying, "Lord, lead me in this decision. I don't want to enter into it just with Riz alone. I want to be able to wait on you on this." It's about saying, "Lord, I'm going to trust you with my finances. I'm going to come daily to ask for your wisdom. I know the plan you have for me is better than the plan I have for myself. I'm going to come before you with my education plan, with my budget plan, with my business plan. I'm going to submit my life's decisions to you." Mavuno Downtown. Trusting the Lord with all your heart comes from a posture of surrender. Elbow the neighbor you didn't elbow the first time, so that the first one doesn't say you're elbowing me a lot, and tell them, trust in the Lord with all your heart comes from a posture of surrender. Why? Because my wife and I learned from our pastor some time back, and they had this statement that God has a way of giving the best to those who leave the choice with him. God has a way of giving the best to those who leave the choice with him. The choice you are going to make can lead you somewhere, but it may not be a straight path. This is what the Bible says in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 6. This is the next verse. After trust the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding. The next verse 6 says, in all your ways, submit to him, and you'll make your paths straight. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. The decisions you're going to make can put you in circles, can put you going round. You'll spend a lot of time, energy, and resources, but it may not be the shortest path to the solution. And God is saying, when you acknowledge him, when you submit to him, he will make your paths straight. God puts you on the shortest path to your destination. What you're learning today is simply this, that surrender activates divine navigation. Tell it to yourself, surrender activates divine navigation. You don't necessarily need more information. You don't necessarily need, extra whatever. But with surrender, without surrender, you'll be stuck in, earthly wisdom and earthly ways. And you'll take so much time before you get to your destination. Surrendering to God is like that hidden gear that allows you to operate at a whole new level. God's plans for you are far greater than the plans you can have for yourself. Then verse 7 goes ahead to say this. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Because many times we are wise in our own eyes. When it comes to dealing with our juniors, we are wise in our own eyes. When it comes to dealing with our spouses, we are wise in our own eyes. When it comes to walking paths that we've walked before, we are wise in our own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. This will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. And God doesn't want you to rely on your gut instincts and experience. Because compared to God's wisdom, your instincts, your experience, it's almost like you can compare them to evil. And say, don't be wise in your own eyes. Shun evil, because your idea is almost like evil in a sense. Left by itself, it's like evil before the Lord compared to the infinite wisdom that God has for you. And he's saying, surrender that decision to him today and every day, because he's going to guarantee you a healthy outcome. That verse says, health to your body and nourishment to your bones. You go out through the week, you've made a decision, and even you feel healthy, and you feel the strength in my bones. It's saying you're being sure about the decision you've made. It's not some decision you make and it's just tiring. But God is saying there is nourishment to your bones and there is health in your body. Surrender activates divine navigation. Let me stop here and say this, guys. As a church, we're at a time when each and every one of us needs to rely on God for divine navigation. If you are new, maybe you came today or you've been here for a while, towards the end of last month and as you got into this month of October, Pastor Faith and I came and we shared with you guys about the transition we are in as a church. That God has opened a door for Pastor Faith and I to move to the Hill City campus and to lead the campus and the network. And God has opened a door for Pastor Nyamu and Joe to come and lead this specific community. And if you are at the gathering, Pastor Kuri and Jojo are leading the network from the Hill City, from the Lavington campus. And God has opened up this door, and it's a time, transitions are times for decision making. Transitions are time for decision making. And for Pastor Faith and I, this is not our first transition, so to speak. We did transition from downtown, went and planted Mavuno Lifeway. Then we left Lifeway, came to downtown, and now we are stepping out in this way. It's very easy for her and I, and our son, to start thinking we know how to do transitions. We know how to do this. We got this in a sense. But I've realized that the devil's sort of activity over opposition of our lives currently is sort of trying to hinder our capacity to pray and ask God for wisdom. Yeah. It's sort of trying to hinder, my wife and I being able to work together and make decisions that are based on God. They're not emotion, but on God. And I've realized, I'm finding myself a bit, more tired to wake up to pray in the morning, a bit more de-energized, just to think through things and pray over things. And so I'm having to fight to enter that place of prayer. to enter that place of saying, God, lead us. We don't want to do this transition because we have a transition manual, which we, like as a ministry, I don't want to do it because we have this thing that helps us to make certain decisions. No. We want to be able to make this decision and, lead the church because you are leading us. Let me also put it out to you that as members of this community, the enemy's efforts could be to make you make a decision based on this transition that is emotional but not based on a godly decision. Or that is pragmatic but not based on a godly decision. It's not a divine navigation, so to speak. And you could find yourself there where, because of this thing of moving, maybe you've seen other transitions before, because as a church, we are not new to transitions. And some of you have seen transitions that, were like, hey, let's go for it. Others that were painful. And it's very easy for you to make decisions based on previous pain or even previous success, but not on what God is leading you to do currently. We were here when you transitioned Pastor Kiaman and Mrs. K out of the community to go and help the movement, with expansion and planting churches. You guys were here when Pastor BX's time, because Pastor Kema left to Pastor BX and Becky, when their time came and were sent out, you could have learned something. When their time came out and then the Ritos came in and they did their work, and when they exited and Pastor Faith and I came in, you could have learned how to do ministry a certain way or how to handle transitions. But I want to tell you, you ain't got this. You need to go back to God and say, God, what's your plan for me in this season? Because it's very easy. Maybe you are used to how maybe I teach, or you are used to how church runs a certain way. And so because of the new pastor coming, it's very easy for you to feel like, I don't know. Maybe I need to leave. Maybe I don't, all that. And I want to tell, I'm not saying don't leave, but I'm saying ensure you're leaving because God is ordering your steps. Am I making sense? Should God order your steps to go to another place, maybe plant a church? Good, we will commission you. But don't give yourself time. Be kind with yourself also. The new pastor, Pastor Joe and Nyamu, they will have a different flavor because of the flavor that God wants to do in the church. I would also hate for me to come back and they're doing things the same way we were doing them. I'm like, no, do things that God is asking you to do in the church as a lead pastor. But it will have different flavor. Somebody said that sheep develops a taste for what it's fed. You've already developed a certain taste. You'll have to go through that transition of, this is different, this is good, but it's what you need. Amen? It's what you need. Pray. Be kind with yourself. Be gracious with yourself. Talk it through with your discipler. Yeah? Talk it through and say, I'm struggling. And then prayerfully be able to make the next decision. But if God says stay, then say, okay, God, where do I stay? Don't say, okay, I'll stay, but I'll be at the back. I'll not do nothing. No, you're still not making the decision based on God's divine navigation. Go and ask God, where do I serve? And some of you in the season that is coming, you may find yourself stepping up to lead in places you've never did. You'll find yourself stepping up to lead in kids or ministry, whatever, and enter into those places because God is leading you. All I'm saying is this. Don't make an emotional decision. This transition is temporary in a sense. Because new pastors will come, and one day I'll come and people will have forgotten that there was ever Pastor Kilons, like all that. Because it's a temporary, but you could make a decision that has eternal ramifications based on this temporary transition. So you go before the Lord, ask God, what do I do? Where do I serve? How do I posture in this coming season? And I truly believe that God is able to lead you there. I've seen God lead my wife and I. I've seen God open some crazy doors for us. Because even for us, there's some decisions we wanted to make based on our experience, based on what we know. But as we prayed, we felt God's hand leading us. And then we've seen God's provision on those certain paths. And it's clear for me that this sermon series is not just a series that we're going through. It's God's divine instruction for every one of us. Each and every one of you, maybe I've just used one example of this transition that you're in as a church. But each and every one of you, you're in a place of making decisions, marriage decisions, relationship decisions, work decisions, all those things. Wait on God for divine navigation. Amen. I want to read the same scripture that you've read, but I will change the version and read from Proverbs. The Message version rather. I'm going to read the Message version, it says, trust God from the bottom of your heart. Don't try to figure out everything on your own. Listen for God's voice in everything you do. Everywhere you go, He's the one who will keep you on track. Mavuno Downtown, He's the one who will keep you on track. Don't assume that you know it all. Run to God. Run from evil. Your body will glow with health. Your very bones will vibrate with life. I love it. God is willing, God is able to order your steps. God is willing, God is able to direct you in a manner that preserves life. In a manner that preserves lives. And is able to accelerate you into the destination that He's calling you into. And so as you go into this week, I want to invite us to do a couple of things. Number one, I want to invite us to join our community prayers that we have every day of the week, Monday to Friday from 4:30 a.m. to 5:30 a.m. And these are 1 hour of prayer. You know, take a picture, take the link, bit.ly/prayers at downtown. Come there for prayer. I've really enjoyed as a community, we've really been leaning into prayer. And I want to invite you to join us this week for prayer. Many times I've seen that by 4:34, 4:36, you have over 100 gadgets already in the prayer room. I love it. I love it. But this week I want to challenge you to do something different. This week I want to challenge you to come for prayer at 4:20. Come 10 minutes early, video on, mic unmuted. Come 10 minutes early, and this is what I want you to do. I want you to take a journal, take a book, and those 10 minutes before the official time starts at 4:30, I want you to write how your day is going to look like. I want you to write some of the big decisions you're going to be facing. Maybe you have a board meeting or a team meeting. You're meeting someone. You have a conversation to have with your spouse. You have the financial decisions to make. I want you to write them down. Write your different decisions. And then as you go through the prayer, as we do adoration, adore the Lord who has given you life. Adore the Lord who orders your steps. Adore this King of Kings and Lord of Lords as you consider your day. In confession, make a confession. Maybe there's some decisions you're going to make that are not, God-led in a sense. Confess and say, Lord, the thoughts of my mind and the meditations of my heart are not pleasing in your sight. I was about to make a mistake here. Thanksgiving, thank God for your job. Thank God for your family. Thank God for all those things. And then at supplication, come before the Lord and say, Lord, order my steps. Order my steps. Lord, there's this crucial meeting that we're going to decide on X, Y, Z. Order my steps. I truly believe that the Lord is not just willing, but is able to lead you as you go into today. Surrender. Prayer and calling on God to take over your day will be your act of surrender. And we are saying this, surrender activates divine navigation. The second thing I want to invite you into is your discipleship group. If you're new at Downtown, we have discipleship groups, and these are groups that meet on the weekday on Wednesdays. We watch what you call Family Night, which is our midweek service that is online. We watch that, and then we break out into our home groups, in our discipleship groups, and we get to have, conversations with one another. We keep each other accountable. We keep each other, we have, good family conversations, so to speak, in that place. And I want to invite you, if you're not part of one, join one. But if you're part of a discipleship group, this week I want to challenge you to actually meet physically. Meet physically. Go somewhere, somebody cook, whatever, even if it's stories, but meet physically and say, this week we are meeting physically. My house is open. Meet physically there. And then have real conversations with one another. There are 4 areas we've sort of been trying to touch on every week. We talked about our faith, your relationships, your health, your finances. I want us to have real conversations on those 4 areas. I want you to talk about where you've been relying on yourself and on your own strength and on your own wisdom. None of you talk about how you've relied on yourself for faith or for relationship or for health or finances. Have real conversations, because we don't go to discipleship groups to just play church. We go there to be real with one another. We say real people with real issues coming to meet a real God. And then I also want you to share what you'll need to do to start actively surrendering those areas to God. What are some things you need to start actively doing? And none of you, for maybe in faith, you'll say, I need to actively start reading my Bible, or catch up with my Bible reading. Today with the book of Timothy, just in case you left us, in Matthew. we're in Timothy. Go there, start catching up. Some of you will say, I want to fast. I want to fast regularly when it comes to faith. Give us a list, media team. Thank you. Some of you will say, when it comes to faith, I want to come to church and start serving. I want to come to church and start serving. When it comes to the area of relationships, some of you will say, I want to stop a relationship. I want to end a relationship. Or one of you will say, I need to start treating my spouse better. Or there's something I've been holding against my spouse. I want to release. It's hard, but this is my act of surrender. Another person will talk about health. Talk about, I need to enter the gym. I need to do X, Y, Z. I need to change X, Y, Z. I need to sleep early. Another person will talk about finances and what your act of surrender looks like in finances. One person will speak about, I want to be found faithful in tithes and offerings. I want to give generously. I want to give sacrificially. I want to give benevolence to people around me. I want to be someone who's able to help people around me. Each of you has an area of surrender, and you're going to be inviting God and allowing the group to keep you accountable on that front. Surrender activates divine navigation.